Your life is your fault. Your current circumstances are the result of your thoughts and actions up to this point in your life. The ability to live as you want, do what you like the most, and be surrounded by the people you love depend only on the habits you have.
Habits make us and habits break us. This video is all about revealing what habits make successful people reach consistently and the necessary step for creating an extraordinary life through Brian Tracy's phenomenon. But before I get into that, here is the proof that this will work for you and you're not just wasting your time on this video. Let's start by understanding that most of our habits are shaped by the people around us, while we grow in an environment where we adapt to seek approval and validation. Studies by neurobiologists, cognitive psychologists, and other experts indicate that up to 95% of human habits are driven by the environment. So we begin developing habits from the youngest of ages, as soon as we can cognitively begin to experience fear and rejection. But the human brain is self-conscious, which means we can, at any moment, choose to draw a line that separates us from the past and learn new habits. So many scientific experiments provided insights into how humans learn through the process of conditioning. One of the turning points in those psychological studies was the discovery that all habits are learned and can be unlearned. And what I mean by unlearning is by replacing the bad habits with good ones. And that means we now know we can develop automated responses with commitment and enough repetition. But to truly create an extraordinary life, there are 4 necessary steps you must follow, or none of what I'm about to tell you is going to work. So the first step is to be in control. We feel happy in proportion to how much control we have over our lives. So if you think that you are the one making decisions and shaping your reality, you will be stronger, you will be happier, and you will be more confident. On the contrary, how many times have you found yourself at the mercy of other factors and circumstances? How did that feel? Horrible, right? In such conditions, it is easy to resort to blaming, making excuses, and feeling like a victim, because all of these options seem just so much simpler than just taking responsibility. So the second step is really believing. We all know we can't really succeed if we don't believe we're capable of doing. So what we believe becomes our perceived reality. And prejudice acts as a filter that distorts all the reality around us to give us a unique personal meaning that keeps reinforcing our personal beliefs. This means that we need to stop letting negative beliefs, prejudice, control us, and we need to cement new positive beliefs in their stead. The third step is controlling the law of attraction. The law of attraction dictates that we continue receiving what we pay most attention and think about the most. Let me give you an example. Have you ever bought a new phone, a new pair of shoes, or a new shirt, and suddenly everyone around you just seems to be wearing that same thing? That is the law of attraction. You attract into your life things that agree with your dominant thought, or the things you tell your mind are important. So if you think that people are evil, you will constantly notice people doing evil things around you. But if you think people are genuinely positive, you will see generosity happen everywhere around you. So what you seek is what you will find. So the last and the most important of all of these steps is raising your standards. What do I mean by raising your standards? What I mean is we are always constantly coming back to our standards, to our bottom line. If we think we are lazy, we will not go for a run after lunch. If you think your weight is around 150 pounds, guess what? Your weight will float around that number most of the time. If you think you're incapable of doing something, you will not even give it a try. But if you start eating healthily and going to the gym 3 times a week, I won't even have to ask you. I will just see it with my own eyes and understand where your standard is at. So once your standard is set, it is like engraved, set in stone, recorded in our subconscious, and we will continue to strive to return and remain in this comfort zone. So your standard defines you. You are your standards, and this is why raising the standards is the most important one of these steps. Now, once you have worked on these 4 steps, you can easily create a brand new habit. And this is where actually most people fail. Most individuals will impose a resolutive decision without making excuses. They will talk about it and visualize it constantly, persisting with repetition, and then when things get tough, they fail, they quit, they surrender. But why is that? Why is it not working? There are some fundamental laws that prevent us from fully cementing our habits. But what is the difference that makes people successful? What is that one thing that can give you the edge to be always able to overcome adversity? And this is where the phenomenon of Brian Tracy really makes the difference. First of all, what is a phenomenon? So a phenomenon is a fact, a situation that is observed to exist or happen, and which is often very extraordinary in nature. Now, Brian Tracy and many other successful people serve as a perfect and remarkable example that we can select and study to understand the law that governs success. From studies and data we have collected, really successful people follow clear and definite rules to achieve easily and consistently the top 1% over and over again. The phenomenon of Brian Tracy is the fact that these people, those who live the best life, they employ these 4 rules called the rules of mastery to really take control of their actions and habits and eventually their life. So the first rule of mastery is improve your concept of yourself and where you want to be. So forcing your mind to implement a positive and confident orientation. Imagining a perfect future in all the aspects of your life. How your love, your finances, your health, your relationship would be if you had a perfect life. And then you need to list all of the answers for every one of these subjects. And once you have done that, you have to return to the present and ask yourself, what can I do at this very moment to take a step forward towards my ideal future? And the answer you give yourself must be as clear as possible, because the clearer you are what you want, the more appropriate your decisions and actions will be. So for this reason, the second rule of mastery is crystallizing the goal and the obstacles that limit you, so that you can focus immediately on the removal. So if you take this massive goal and you start breaking it down into many smaller pieces, you can easily identify something which is so little and achievable that you can start doing today, right now. So when something is that little, you just know you can do it. So once you implement this process of shrinking down all of your problems to assess your next actions, you will soon realize you're capable of anything, no matter how big a goal might seem at first glance, because all you see in front of you are very small, simple incremental steps. The third rule of mastery is discipline and repetition. To be more specific, following up on the promise you make yourself of committing to acting daily. So you already understand that the goal is obtainable, and since someone somewhere already obtained it, you can probably learn from them too, which brings us to the last rule of mastery, which is absorbing the right influence, which means modeling the behavior and the actions of great coaches and mentors while shutting outside the boundaries of your mind all the gossip, all the politics, the news on TV, the radio, and other social media influence. To achieve the same result of successful people, your actions must include reading every day, attending courses and seminars, listening to audiobooks whilst doing other activities, and picking up the same habits that the 1% do consistently as a daily routine to become successful. The next obvious question then is, what are the habits that make you rich? Let's begin by defining rich. Being rich is not only about money sitting in your bank account. We all know people can still have a lot of money and still be miserable. Being rich means owning assets, not having to worry about work, having a life full of rich experiences with great people, and implementing positivity to achieve success in every aspect of life. So that is being rich. And here are the habits that will transform your life. The habit that will make you rich financially is setting aside a percentage of your income every single month, from 10 to 15 to 20%. monthly to invest in very safe investment, aiming to earn a conservative 10% annually over the course of many years. Investing safely means never gambling, never relying on luck, and always determining the worst possible outcome of an investment and being really truthful about that. As adults, we still associate money as something that helps us get what we want. Therefore, saving it and not spending it seems like a kind of punishment. It's an automatic response that tries to move away from pain and closer to pleasure, and we need to completely review this concept. Think in terms of what saving and investing can actually afford you in the future and what kind of hardships you will face if you won't have money invested for hard times. The habits that will create riches in your workplace is becoming indispensable. And you can increase productivity by remembering that you have the power to give more just by staying longer and by taking on more responsibility. So how do you do that? You need to identify the additional skills and capabilities that will be the most important in the next 5 years in your industry. That will give you an edge that will make you irreplaceable and worth more than your salary. So do more than you're paid to do and always look for ways to add value, and one day that value will be reflected in your income and your role at the company. The habit that will make business owners rich is to always focus on customer satisfaction instead of profits, by thinking every day about how to make what you offer more appealing to your customers. A great leader also must be able to delegate the right tasks to the right people to prevent owners from doing everything themselves and blocking their path towards growth. This means identifying the most important and profitable tasks by utilizing the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle proves that 20% of what you do produces 80% of the results. As a business owner, you should focus on the 20% and delegate the remaining 80%, always ensuring that the tasks are carried out accordingly. The Pareto principle should be applied to every single fundamental aspect of the company, such as the productivity, the customer satisfaction, the income, the quality of the products, the employees, and also the strategies. So applying this rule is the key for maintaining a competitive advantage and standing out from all the other competitors in the market. Now, the habit that will nurture rich relationship is starting to make people near you feel important by fulfilling their subconscious needs. What does that mean? This means that when talking to someone, you should make decisions about what to say next by asking yourself whether your words will make the other person feel better or worse. And to fully get a hold of this habit, you first need to accept other people without criticism or judgment, and showing admiration, approval, and praises when possible, especially when you notice good behaviors that you want to see repeated. Then listen carefully to others while they speak, whilst eliminating all the other distractions. This will make them realize you really care, and just taking those extra 5 seconds before replying will really make them understand you're paying attention. Also, remember to ask for clarifications without assuming you have understood everything, because that is a good way to avoid miscommunications. Now, the 8 habits that create a rich and vigorous health include 4 physical and 4 mental practices aimed at healing the body and the mind. The habits of the mind include forgiving those who hurt you by removing any harbored resentment, especially for things that cannot be changed. Learning to understand what are problems that can be acted upon and what are facts that happened in the past and can no longer be fixed. Going on vacation regularly, and I see so many people not doing this, but you really need to take a break every so often. And number 4 is finding time for yourself and possibly for meditation. The habits of the body include adopting a correct alimentation by finding pleasure in adding a lot of fibers, vegetables, and water, and by removing rice, potatoes, flour, salts, and sugar. Exercising regularly, sleeping at least 7 hours a night, and performing regular health checkups. Lastly, the key habit that will make you successful and fulfilled lies in one question that defines your primary source of stress and dissatisfaction, so you can get rid of them immediately. Whatever the answer is to this question, you must stop doing it immediately. And this might even mean you're in the wrong relationship, hanging out with the wrong people, working at the wrong place, or spending your time in the wrong way. This key habit of asking this one question over and over is the main way you can rise your standards to achieve a happier life, one that makes you excited and jumping out of bed in the morning versus a life where you wake up without energy just to go to work to pay your bills. The one question that is the key to becoming successful in life is knowing what you now know. If you had to start from scratch and do it all over again, is there anything you would not do? And once this question becomes your mantra and you start basing your decision on this one thing, I promise you, you will change your life forever. So get used to envisioning what you want to achieve with absolute clarity and certainty, and focus every available energy towards constant improvement. Act as if you had a guarantee of success in the things you do whilst accepting the possibility of failure, never resorting to a victim mindset in the face of adversity. Start believing that there is a good reason for everything that happens, because the more you look for this meaning, the more likely you are to find an answer. Persist in believing in your ability to succeed, and remember that we are where we are because of our habits. So if you work on yourself with discipline and repetition, these daily habits will become an integral part of you, of your personality, and you will change your internal world and the world around you with it. And you know what the best and most fun part about this is? There are no limits. Put a like on this video and subscribe if you also want to start changing your life today.